Hello everybody, welcome to tonight's weekly message from Spirit. So it's going to be a special night. The energies are quite buzzing at the moment, so I'm not sure how you found the last week. There were some intense solar flares. Those of you that are quite energetically sensitive may have found the last week to be a little bit intense, especially sort of Wednesday, Thursday last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. Very, very intense energies with the solar flares, but they have calmed down, and really it was an activation kind of energy. So there's been a lot going on about activating, and when we think of activation, it's a lot about waking us up, I think. Sorry, my dog is very activated tonight, so let's hope that he behaves himself. So I was saying, with activation energy, it's a lot about waking us up. And so you might be finding that you're being provoked into certain things, to face certain things, deal with certain things, start certain things, create certain things, finish certain things. But there's an activation, a very buzzy kind of energy. Anyway, it's lovely to be with you tonight. If you haven't seen us yet, pre-orders are open for my new deck of cards, so they will be available sort of hopefully by August. And when I say hopefully, it's just really a timing thing with the printers. But it's available for pre-orders, and there's a certain amount that we've made available at a special rate. So the link is in the preamble. If you want to get, it's 100 Rand cheaper than what will be on sale, and there's a certain amount available at that price. So if you're wanting a set of cards, really, really worthwhile to click on there and to get it, so we can make sure you get your cards. I think about 15% of the pre-order sales, the amount we've made available for pre-order, have been taken up already, so make sure you're not disappointed. Okie dokie, so let us see what is available tonight. So we'll start off with the crystal, and then we'll do the weekly message, and then I'll go on to do some readings. The crystal that came forward tonight is not one that I have here. I have it in my training room in Bryanston, but I don't have one with me here. And it's Polychrome Jasper. So Polychrome Jasper, if you have a look at the picture there, you'll see this crystal in the middle here. And Polychrome Jasper is beautiful. It's exquisite. It literally is all these colors, these blues and pinks and creams and browns, and I was at Step Into Your Light, which is one of my colleagues and friends, Nikki Delacia, who runs it. She's got the most beautiful crystals that she sells. I picked up a piece of Polychrome Jasper yesterday, and I was like, oh, it's so beautiful. It looks like a painted Easter egg, was the words that I used. And that's exactly what Polychrome Jasper looks like. It looks like these soft pastel, flowy kind of patterns, and really, really beautiful. It's amazing to think that the earth creates these exquisite patterns, and it comes from the sand. And Polychrome Jasper is all about innocence. It's all about laughter. It's all about playfulness. Everything about Polychrome Jasper is about lightening up. There's no heaviness with it. It's not about any kind of intense energy. It's about faith. It's about compassion. And mostly about laughter. I was with a client today, and her guides came forward and said, you need to laugh more. You don't laugh enough. And really, this is coming forward quite a lot, is how serious we are about everything. So many people are walking around so serious all the time, and there's a real need to lighten up. It's just a laugh after all, really. You can't really get it wrong. So, to lighten up and enjoy it a lot more. So, Polychrome Jasper. So let us see what the cards are that come forward tonight. And as always, I'm going to do 3 cards, connect with my guides, and ask for cards to come forward that are supportive to the majority of people. And it really is about accessing the energetic patterns this week and providing a sort of global reading that provides guidance to whoever comes online tonight, during the week, or it happens actually to find this reading at any point in time. If you want to make sure you never ever miss out on the readings, then you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. And these are always these are uploaded there every Tuesday morning, so you can have access to all the archives. Right, so I'm just going to connect with my guides, and I'm going to call forward them to bring forward messages that serve the highest good of all. And we'll do 3 cards as always. The first card is, what do we need to pay attention to this week? The second card is, what support is available this week? And the third card is, what opportunities exist this week? So let us see what they would like to tell us tonight. Yeah. As I said, if you weren't here earlier, last week was quite intense with solar flare energy. So if you felt, and quite a lot of physical reactions, certainly I was quite ill. I know many people had quite a lot of physical reactions. So if you're needing some love and compassion, kindness, I send it to you. Well, I send that to everybody here. All right, so the card that comes forward in terms of what do we need to pay attention to this week, what needs to be noticed. And the card that comes forward is, we are all connected, you are not alone. We are all connected, you are not alone. Now, when we have a look at this card, it's really one of my favorite cards. We've got these 2 beautiful trees, and if we have a look at them from above the earth, they really look like they're separate. But underneath, we've got this root system, and they're kind of holding hands or shaking hands, if we wanted to think of it that way. And then there's a new plant emerging from this connection underneath here. And so we're all connected, this idea of this universal consciousness that binds us together underneath the separateness, is one of the biggest paradoxes we need to heal, is the awareness of the sacredness of my individuality, the honoring of my contribution, the noticing of my gifts and talents to the world. And I say my as in yours as well. But then underpinning all of that, there's this sort of grain of essence that connects us all together, that we're all just human beings doing the best we know how to do. And when we can understand we're all just human beings doing the best we know how to do, it heals so many wounds. Firstly, most wounds that exist on earth come from the idea of separateness, judgment, conflict, anger. You are different to me. When I can see the sameness in me and the sameness in you beyond the external, but deep to the internal, we can really start to bring a sense of oneness and unity back to the world. And this oneness and unity is not about losing your identity. It's about accessing your identity and knowing that the sort of flow of life into you is honoring that your contribution to the world is important as you, but it connects to everybody else's contribution. So this eliminates competition, eliminates judgment, eliminates sort of a need to have scarcity, you against me, that we're fighting for survival here. Now, when I say eliminates these things, competition and separateness and these things are not negative. It's negative when it's used as a way of putting each other down. And so it allows us to then access sort of a compelling need to help each other get better. The other thing that this heals, when we can start to get to this, is it heals loneliness. So many people are lonely, and it's not because they're alone. It's because they're not connected into this river of life, into this web of life. If they're not connected into this all-knowing mass of aliveness that exists for all of us. I'm not sure if this is true for any of you, but it may feel true, is that you could be in a room surrounded by many, many, many people, yet you feel deeply lonely. And that loneliness is not about being alone. It's about not being connected. And it's not accessing the connection, whether it's through your roots to your ancestors, whether it's through your hearts to your guides and your spirits and your intuition and your gifts, whether it's through your expansive energy into the divine, whether it's through your hands to each other, whether it's through your voices in union with each other. These are things that are about bringing us together as a planet, as a world, as a community. And, you know, I was listening to a beautiful podcast the other day that was talking about depression. And it's one of the courses I'm going to be running out in this year, is the gift of emotion, and how emotions are here to help us heal so many wounds. And that in this depression talk, which is the gift of depression, the guy that was talking about how everybody is lonely and desperate for community. The sense of belonging and community is necessary to come out of hiding and to come out of this isolation that so many people feel. And so this card is about noticing where you isolate yourself, how you disconnect yourself, where you sit in judgment of others, and how you keep yourself at odds with the world. And where is the opportunity to connect? To connect with your hands, your hearts, your words, your spirit, your essence. We are all connected. We are one. Now, when we have a look at the sacred geometry on this symbol, we'll see that there's the Merkaba, the star tetrahedron. And the Merkaba is a sort of fifth dimensional consciousness of an expanded auric field. And it really is this idea of connecting in to all that is available to us. So if that's what needs to be paid attention this week, what support is available? Absolutely, Tanya. Addiction is a compensation for this. It's exactly this. Addiction is a way of trying to heal depression in many ways. Yeah. So it's a different workshop, but it's a different talk, but we can deal with it. Yeah. So I love this card because, you know, I can't make this stuff up, but the card that then comes up is for what is available to support us is quite a provocative card. It says, feel it, deal with it, heal it. Feel it, deal with it, heal it. So I was talking about the solar flares and how there's been this energy that's been coming forward about activating things. And it's activating our energetic bodies to be able to shift into a frequency where we can hold the sort of love that has been asked to be held. And this is for everybody. But in order to do this, we have to heal anything that we are carrying. We have to heal the wounds that are keeping us separate from our own light. Our anger, our fear, our insecurities, our shame, our doubt, our guilt, our persecution. All of these things are necessary. They are gifts. They help us learn to heal so we can come back to love, so we can come back to oneness, we can come back to wholeness. Last week we had the card about wholeness and integration. And again, there's this theme of what keeps you separate from love. If love is the essence, if love is, and I'm talking about divine love, I'm talking about love being the absence of judgment, I'm talking about love being the sort of sense of compassion, firstly for ourselves and for others, not unboundaried love. Boundaries are important, but love where we can speak up, love where we can honor, love where we can connect. If love is if that is the sort of natural state, and we know it's the natural state. The reason we know it's the natural state is it's the way we are born. We are born naturally loving. We are born in love, of love, with love, and through love. When anybody who's been around a newborn baby or worked with small children will know it's pure love. It's just pure love. And then we get separate from love through our wounds, through our experiences, through heartbreak and difficulty. And the entire healing journey is about returning back to this natural state of love. And returning back to the place of faith, of trust, of compassion. And so anything this week where you notice that you are separating yourself away, then the question is, what do you need to feel? And when we say deal with it, it's not dealing with it by fighting, by facing. So what do we need to face as you feel it? What's the gift in it? I had a client here today and she was very angry with the world. And the question was, what's the gift going on in your world at this point in time? How do you embrace what's on offer? Because then we can heal it. And in healing it, we need compassion, gentleness, There is nothing wrong. So I really want to make sure heal it doesn't mean fix it. Fix it means there's something wrong now that needs to change. Heal it means pay attention to it, honor it, love it, embrace it, experience it. Right, so the card that then comes forward in terms of what opportunity exists this week, I have to smile because honestly, I love seeing how these cards flow, is raise your vibration. Raise your vibration, and you'll again see the Merkaba on here. So we've got, we are all connected, you're not alone. Feel it, deal with it, and heal it, and then your vibration is raised. And so the opportunity is to raise your vibration. I was talking about the solar flares and that coming forward as a way of activating things. When we understand vibration, we need to understand that this is the sort of story that comes out of us. It's the sort of, in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions, there's an internal experience, and this creates a sort of vibration, and this energizes itself and plays out into the world. This connects into what we call group consciousness. Now, we can either receive group consciousness or we can impact it. If you're the receptor for it, and you need to be able to do both, but if you just absorbing group consciousness can hold your vibration at a very low level. Many of us are here to alter group consciousness, and so then we need to emit a frequency, and we always are. So taking responsibility for what am I putting out into the world, is the story, that is the frequency. And when we emit love, when we emit peace, when we emit compassion, it's very different to emitting protection, etc., etc. This doesn't mean you can do it wrong. It just means noticing what is your contribution to the pattern in the world. It's pointless wanting to be an angel spirit and a peacekeeping soul and wanting to be a light worker, and then your story is one of anger every day, anger at not having enough money, angry with the world for whatever it is. And this doesn't mean ignoring it. It means facing the current situation in your life with the love, with the acceptance, with the peace, and dealing with life on those terms, not waiting for it to be different. So this opportunity to notice, what is it that you're emitting? What is your contribution to the world? What is your fingerprint? How do you contribute? Yeah, and maybe one of the things we can do this week, because they're giving me this, is maybe we can make this a week of random acts of kindness, random acts of compassion, random acts of love. Not only to others, but to yourselves included. And if that feels like something you would like to do and you want to participate in spreading random acts of kindness and compassion into the world this week, is that we can create a place on my page where you can share it if you want to. It's not for sharing necessarily, it's not why we're doing it, but it inspires, it supports, it provokes, it creates beautiful energy in the world. And so, yeah, let's make it our goal to every day have a couple of random acts of kindness and compassion, both to ourselves and to others. And let's raise the vibration that way. All right, so how beautiful a reading is that, hey? So exciting. All right, beautiful. So if you would like a reading, now's your time to start asking for readings. I know for many people, they try and get readings done, and I miss it. Please do not take it personally, and please don't give up. Just keep asking. I really do try and get through as many people as I possibly can. But also I'm drawn to those whose readings will be most supportive to the global and to the broader group. All right, Varsha Chetia, let's start with you. What's your fingerprint? I love the question. Would I love a reading if Spirit speaks to you? All right, Varsha, so let us see what it is that your guides would like to tell you tonight, yeah? So, Varsha, all right. All right, I'm going to pull another card because I think they're just teasing me now. But the card that came up is we are all connected, you are not alone. So they want you to really pay attention to this idea of connection and noticing your own connection and what it is that you're contributing, which was the message you already got. I'm going to take another card for you as well, because the guides are really joking around a little bit. So the reason I say they're joking around a little bit is last week I was doing the readings and I said, oh, the same cards keep coming up. Clearly it's time to end it. And they thought that was quite funny. So they're really just teasing, playing around a bit. All right, Varsha, trust your inner knowing. Trust your inner knowing. You know, when I was creating these cards, it's a very interesting thing to try and create. I mean, the original set of cards that many of you have seen, I drew, and so the frequency of the card would come through the drawing. And when I needed to find pictures and words for it, trying to find a picture that somehow connected the essence of the message to a picture, so there's something graphic, became a really important part of the story. And when I found this card, it's like my entire body went into like a buzz, because this idea of our inner true north, of our internal compass, that we can navigate life by our own direction and not to use something external to us, was very pivotal to this card. And so the question is, well, or the way it's being described, Varsha, is that you very, very strongly know what's important to you. You know what it is that you are being guided to express and to explore and to play with. However, it's like there's another compass in your hand here. So we've got your internal compass being shown to you, and another compass which is about appropriateness, I think is the best way I can describe it, or fitting in, something around this sort of energy. And this false compass keeps navigating you slightly off course. And this is where you pay attention to other people's voices ahead of your own. It's not wrong. You cannot get onto the wrong path. You cannot do anything wrong. But one of the opportunities that exists is noticing, what does it feel like when I'm navigating life by other people's voices? And what does it feel like when I'm navigating life by my own internal voice? And your male guide in particular says it's really, really useful for you to pay attention to this and to notice how you feel with those two differences, because that vibration, and remember the raise the vibration card of this week, those are two very different vibrations. I keep getting the idea, Varsha, that there's messages for you to be giving. There's a real need for you to be using your voice more, and you silence it when you listen to this other compass, or you get distracted by other people's voices. I hope that makes sense for you. Sending you lots of love. Oh, there we go. I'm glad it makes so much sense, Varsha. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, let's see who's now. Thank you, Tanya. I'm glad you like them. Vandana, let us see. Vandana, have you contacted Stacey yet? Let's just check what happened there. I know you wanted to set up a session, so let us see, Vandana, what it is your guides would like to tell you tonight. All right, the message is coming forward for you, Vandana, is choose to trust. All right, let me just connect, and there's something we're wanting to deal with. Vandana, there's this, when I connect in with your energy, and when I connect in with the guides and they show me your energy, there's this very interesting experience of feeling unsupported. If I had to give an experience of feeling supported, like somebody's got your back, and it's this feeling of like holding you, if you imagine, from your back, and when I connect with you, I get this very strong feeling or strong message of feeling unsupported. Now, there is a past life that has happened for you where you were betrayed quite badly by some people that you had thought would have your back, so to speak. And this group of people, I'm not going to go into the specifics of the past life now, more from a time perspective and also from a disclosure perspective, but this group of people that you had thought would support you through something, and they didn't. And literally, they did not have your back, and you were killed in this lifetime. Now, what happens in that sort of scenario is, as a soul, we come to a conclusion about it, and this starts manifesting into future lives, future patterns, future healing that we need to go through. And the idea of not being able to trust, that was the conclusion that you came to in this lifetime, that people let you down, people don't have your back, and you cannot trust. And so that is what is being asked to be healed through this lifetime, is choosing to let yourself trust again. That the conclusion that what needed to be reached in that lifetime was who you associate with is important in life. Because this was essentially a gang. And I mean, they were never going to stand up for you. They were all in a very individualistic mindset. And so the message of that lifetime was more choosing who you associate with rather than, don't trust. And so in this lifetime, it's about really learning to settle into your own discernment of choosing who you associate with. And if you choose to associate with people that feel good for you, then you can trust that. Not trust them, trust that. And trust yourself in that. And so this starts to heal this karmic wound for you, this belief that comes into this lifetime with you that nobody's got your back. Because God said, we've got your back. We've got your back. All right, so I hope that makes sense for you. Oh, there we go. Wow, that's so true. Oh, cool. I'm glad. All right. Mandy Waddington, battling today. I assume that means you would like a reading. So let's see, Mandy. If you would like a reading, just ask. Feel free to share this with your friends and get others involved in it. It's lovely to get these messages out into the world because, sure, we need more love. Okay, Mandy. Are you still with me, Mandy? Let me just check. Okay, Mandy, release the shame. Release the shame. This is one of my favorite cards in terms of images. I think I say that often, but anyway, I love all the cards. But the reason I think this is so amazing is this image is so, so clever. There's this amazingly beautiful woman holding a bird cage with a small version of herself trapped inside. And she's holding the cage, and therefore she holds the ability to shift the cage, to put it down, to move it, to do whatever. And so when we understand that in many ways it's about holding ourselves small, holding ourselves ransom, holding ourselves to our own sort of criticism, then we understand what shame is, because essentially shame is that sort of self-imposed judgment on ourselves. It's like we've turned in on ourselves and we have this incessant need to police or criticize or do something to ourselves. Now, this can come through many, many experiences. For you specifically, it really is this idea of, it's the best way for me to describe this to you, but this idea of being, I don't know if the words unlovable are going to make sense to you. Like you're not worthy, and it comes from a place of rejection or fearing rejection. And so what has happened somewhere along your life is you've taken other people's behavior and you've internalized it as about you. What this means is if I'm rude to you, it's an indication of me, not you. If I hurt you, it's an indication of me, not you. If I reject you, it's an indication of me, not you. But when we, through our lifetime, experience people's rejection and abuse and hurt, and I say abuse in a very loose word because there's so many forms of that. And when we go, it's my fault, or part of you thinks that you should or shouldn't have done something or been different, that internalized criticism, that shame, means that we put ourselves into a cage and we withdraw from receiving the love that we may be available to us from other people. Yeah. So, Mandy, the way your guides are coming forward is asking you to notice where in your life have you possibly taken other people's behavior and made it about you. And if you would like to, you could do some sort of ritual where you give it back to the person. What I mean by this is, please not go and find these people and talk to them about it. This is not necessary. It could be more writing a letter and say, thank you for the contribution you've had in my life. Your anger is your responsibility. I forgive myself for taking it on board. What you did to me is your responsibility. I release myself from the shame of taking on board responsibility for yours. So there you go. I hope that resonates for you. Sending you lots of love. Oh, good. Okay, Mandy, I'm so good. All right. Let us see. Kira Fleming. If you new on here, please just keep asking for readings. I don't scroll back up, so just keep asking, and I will get to as many of you as possible. I'm going to be online for another 30 minutes or so, so there's plenty of time for us to do as many readings as we can. All right, Kira, let us see what your guides would like to tell you tonight. Such beautiful messages coming forward. All right, Kira. Kira, the card coming forward for you is get intimate with your fear. Get intimate with your fear. Now, intimacy is a beautiful word, isn't it? Intimacy. I mean, your male guide comes in, he's like all bouncy like this, like, oh, he's very excited to be able to talk to you tonight. Intimacy is a word that we would not normally associate with fear. And when we think of intimacy, there's a sense of, the deepest part of us loving someone. Our intimate relationships are really relationships of deep, heartfelt connection. Is often a sexuality or a sensuality to that. Not always necessarily. You can have intimacy with your friends, you can have intimacy with your children without it being physically involving anything. But there's an intimacy which means there's a very old funny movie that says intimacy is into me I see. It's a comedy, but it really is intimacy is when you let somebody see into you. Yeah. Intimacy with yourself is when you look and you see what is going on. It's like a seeing beyond what's there to be seen. It's looking deeply. And when you look deeply at something, we can look beyond the obvious and we can get to what is behind the words, what is behind the behavior, what is behind this. And this is true when we know somebody intimately, we can take a look at their face and we know what's going on behind they look in their eyes. We know there's something more. There's like a depth to it. And so the intimacy with our fear is looking beyond the obvious. It's not about looking at what's going on the obvious level. It's looking behind that. So if I am, let's give an example. If I have a fear of failure, a random one that many of us have, if I have a fear of failure, and maybe that manifests itself in a fear of having people laugh at me, because that's one of the nuances of fear of failure, is having people laugh at me, and I fear that. Now, it's one thing to have the fear, and in that fear, we're going to have sort of protective mechanisms. So I'm going to not want to stand up. I might become the class clown. I might do all sorts of things to almost prevent that fear from manifesting itself. When I get intimate with that fear, when I look at it deeply, I can see a little girl or boy that didn't know how to handle attention as a child. Or I can see a little girl or little boy that was told to not be so out there. Or whatever it is, there's a part of us that was rejected or hurt at a point in our lives. And our fear is just a mask to that child or innocent part of ourselves. And so when we get intimate with our fear, we can start to understand a lot more of what goes on behind it. And that's what we can heal. So there's something going on in your life where fear is driving things for you, Kira, and your guides are saying, sit in intimacy with it, sit paying attention to it. What do you see in yourself? What needs to be seen for it to be healed? Because when you do that, it's quite a beautiful place. All right, so let us see. I hope that resonates for you, Kara. Such beautiful readings coming forward tonight. And for those of you that haven't been called as yet, really pay attention to other people's readings, because the way the guides work at these sessions is about giving readings to as many people as possible. So you may have already heard messages that resonate with you. All right, Tanya, how are you doing, my darling? All right, and there's a whole lot of lovely emojis too. All right, Tanya, let's see what your guides would like to tell you, my darling. Just keep asking those of you that want to get readings. I know some people get very frustrated with me. Oh, thank you, Meryl. It's lovely. All right, so Tanya, be peace. Be peace. So this was one of last week's messages. Oh no, Kira, well, good on you. Okay, so be peace. All right, so your guides really want me to pull awareness to the infinity symbol. And the infinity symbol is really an important symbol. It's a well-known symbol, but it is the symbol of flow, and it is the symbol of abundance. When I say the symbol of abundance, not in the natural sense, but flow is about giving and receiving, and allowing things to flow out of your life and then flow back to your life. So a big way of thinking about this is endings and beginnings. Outflow, inflow, endings, beginnings, the sort of death, rebirth, these cycles of life and this infinite wisdom that every ending becomes a beginning, is a really important message to honor, to hear. Because if we do not allow things to end when they need to end, what we're doing is stopping something from beginning. And one of the ways to do this is to become quite peaceful about natural transitions in life. I mean, this is a ridiculous example, but one that I use sometimes, they show me, is that when the sun goes down at night, we do not panic. We don't go like, oh, where's the sun gone? Is it going to come back? I hope the sun will be back tomorrow. We have quite a strong level of faith that the sun goes down and it'll be nighttime, and then the sun will come up and it will be daytime. And this flow. When we hit winter, we don't panic that there'll be no spring. We know that through the natural ebb and flow of life, there is spring, there is beginnings and endings. It's a natural course, and it's an infinite flow of life. And we can be quite peaceful with these transitions. We can be quite peaceful every sunset and sunrise. We can be quite peaceful through the darkness of winter, knowing that we can be peaceful in the joy of spring. All of it serves. And so the message that's coming forward for you, Tanya, is to embrace the transitions that are going on in your life with a level of peace, that everything that needs to be faced as a possible ending is an opportunity for a new beginning. And this is about releasing any attachment to anything that you're holding on to that's stumbling you from moving into the flow, into the abundance. And this could be old stories. It could be old decisions. One of the things that's really useful is to know that no decision is final. It could be an old story, an old decision. I had to break up with one this week, where I realized that a year ago, as I moved out of my one business into the other, I made some internal thoughts about how I would do things that was holding me back from receiving what is available now. And so endings and beginnings are a daily flow of life and can be dealt with peacefully. All right. I hope that makes sense for you, my darling. All right. Anna Marie Anderson, all the A's. Anna Marie Anderson. Let us see what your guides want to tell you. All right, there you go, Tanya. So I hope that well, clearly it resonates and makes sense for you. So embrace it. Beautiful analogy. Play with the infinity symbol in your energy field. Just imagine it flowing through you, around you, in you, above you. Everything flows. All right, Anna Marie, a lot of financial uncertainty, work and health issues. Oh my word. And it's all going to impact each other, I would imagine. So firstly, sending you a lot of love. And I'm going to send you a lot of love for the message that's about to come forward. The card that comes forward for you, Anna Marie, is acceptance will set you free. Acceptance will set you free. I run a course called The Art of Surrender. It's an amazing course about embracing surrender as a stress coping mechanism. And to think that surrender is about coping with life and it's about it's a resilience tool. That is, in essence, what surrender is all about. And most of us think of surrender as a form of weakness, of giving up. But when we understand surrender is a form of embracing, it's about accepting reality for what it is. And acceptance is the very thing that brings us to a place of connection to our intuition. Surrender and acceptance is the thing that brings us to a place of power, and it brings us to a resourcefulness. And so when we're in resistance, when we resist something, now resistance looks like the following. It shouldn't be there. It's wrong. It's unfair. I don't want it. I don't like it. Any of these things, which are true experiences and true feelings, hold you in a state of resistance. When we embrace something, we accept it, it is what it is. Whether I like it or understand it is not necessarily relevant. It's more about accepting it, embracing it. This then takes me into a state of flow. Now I can ask myself, if this is what it is, what do I want to do with it? So let me give it to you as a simple example. Simple. If I wake up with a headache, and I know I teach this stuff, so what's interesting is noticing how I also fight with many of my things, what goes on in my own life. But if I wake up with a headache, I might not want a headache. I might not like having a headache, and it might be interfering with my day to have a headache, but I still have a headache. And the sooner I accept my headache, the sooner I can decide what I want to do about it. Do I want to phone a client and take an hour off to rest? Do I want to take a tablet? Do I need to drink water because I'm dehydrated? What is going on that the headache is asking me to see? Now, this is a health awareness. And so our bodies are constantly asking us to pay attention to it. And the only way we pay attention is by embracing and accepting what is. When I've worked with people that are really, really ill, the difference between those people that heal and those that don't are the ones that stop fighting. They embrace their illness. They work with it. They honor its messages. It's the same thing that happens from a financial perspective. The law of abundance is a mirror from the divine to say, pay attention to the frequency, the vibration you're at. And so what you manifest is a mirror, not a reward, not a punishment, purely a mirror. And once you accept it, you can embrace it, you can figure out what is this about, and therefore what do I do with it. And so the struggle, the fear that you're experiencing is very real. There's no need to dismiss it. But it's the resistance to the way things are that is amplifying and making things far more difficult than it is. There is a lot going on for you, Anne-Marie, in terms of transition. There's like your female guide kind of shows me she shows me like a magic wand, like a fairy godmother standing there going like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And once you embrace where you're at, you can start to get clear about what you want. And then your frequency can start to shift. So acceptance. What do you need to embrace? What do you need to accept? Even though it's maybe really difficult and really, really tough, it doesn't have to feel okay for you to be okay. It's about embracing it. Sending you a big hug. I can feel things are really, really tough for you. And I hope that supports you and resonates on a level. Okay. Stephen Colon, let's see, Stephen Colon. Let's see what your guides would like to tell you tonight, Stephen. We have to, I have to answer the men that are in the on the live readings, because there's normally a lot more women than men for whatever reasons. Pleasure, Nikki. So Nikki is from Step Into Your Light. She has the most beautiful shop and place for you to get crystals and so on and so forth. Nikki, if you could post some pictures of some of your beautiful Polychrome Jasper, that would be amazing, because that was the crystal for tonight, and I don't have any. All right, Stephen, the message that's coming forward for you is please be selfish. Please be selfish. Again, we see this relationship to the infinity symbol here. Selfish is a word that triggers quite a bit. It tends to be something that we do not allow ourselves to experience. But if we could shift into self-care and understand that self-care is about what we pay attention to. Well, if I had to even change it, what we pay attention to is what we give energy to. So if I'm paying attention to my sister or my husband or my child or my dog or my work, that is what I'm giving energy to. And we give energy to things all day, every day. Everything we're paying attention to is what we give energy to. And when we understand this, and we understand that we have this beautiful asset at our disposal called our energy, what is it we want to give energy to? And we need to then observe, what are we paying attention to? And when we do this, the question of do we pay attention to ourselves comes up. And how do we create energy for ourselves if we never pay attention to ourselves? And that's what this card of Please Be Selfish means, is give attention to yourself. What is it that you need? Now, not exclusively necessarily. This is not about creating a whole lot of narcissists. This is so much more about creating harmony and balance and creating attention to yourself, because when you attend to yourself, energy can flow through you, and you actually have more energy to give to other people, because it becomes an infinite supply of energy out into the universe, as opposed to just this constant drain. We start to manufacture energy rather than to just get depleted of energy. Now, very specifically for you, the message is coming from Stephen, is to notice there's a very important goal that you have in your life. There's something that's really important to you that you've been wanting to work on or manifest or do for a period of time, but there is a tendency to give attention to other stuff. It's almost like you have this idea of a goal, something you want to, I'm not sure if it's a book, I'm not sure if it's something you want to create, I'm not sure it's got a creative sort of feel to it. You will know they're saying what it is. But then other things take priority. And these other things take priority. They get your attention and they get your energy. And this dream that you have, this pull that you have to create what it is that you know you want to create, it keeps being put on the back burner. And so this is kind of like a provocative message to put it into the priorities of what you give attention to. So allow yourself to give attention to that which you want to create, and ensure that it's part of what you expend energy on, because it seems to be something really relevant and really important. So I hope that makes sense for you, Stephen. That is the message that's coming forward for you. Daya Govender, let us see what your guides would like to tell you. Daya. Right. What does Daya's guides have to say? Pleasure, Stephen. Right. Okay, Daya. The message is coming forward for you is there is only love. There is only love. Now, let me just see what your guides want to tell you about this. There seems to be some friction going on in your world. when I connect in with your energy, it's almost like if you imagine, you know, when you're trying to create a fire and you've got the lint, and I don't know all the right words. Sorry, I'm not a camper. Newsflash for everyone, you'll now know this. I am not a camper. But, you know, when you've got the flint and the stone and you're trying to make fire, there's this friction that exists. And that friction sort of builds up sort of a kinetic energy. And that kinetic energy creates a spark, and that spark creates fire. And now, this is really interesting because this is one of the ways to create fire. When we think of something being in like a flint in a lighter or in the match, this idea of there's got to be a friction to create fire. And when we have fire, we have warmth, we have heat, we have the ability to create, you know, various things from fire. Now, when we start looking at internal fire, which is often about passion, or it's about you know, desire, it's about willpower, it's about creativity. These are all fire energies. One of the things we can get attached to is the idea that conflict or friction is the way to create it. We know this, we see it in some couples, is that, you know, there's this great fight and then there's this great love, and there's great fights and great love, you know, nothing like makeup sex, you know, that kind of energy that comes forward. Now, we can get quite addicted to that. We can get addicted to the spark to create some sort of impetus and some movement. And like anything in life, when it's an addiction, we've now used something that was useful, and this is now, you know, starting one little fire has become sort of a, what's the arsonist that creates every fire all the time. So this is a long-winded way of saying to you to notice where in your life you may be using friction to create energy, to create excitement or create passion or create decisions or to do things. And there's many times that this will be useful, but there are some times where you're going to get burned because it's not a useful use of it. I mean, creating fire everywhere we go is not always useful. So the sort of discernment of when do I need to do this sort of friction to create something, and when is it okay to just be just to let something else ignite change. And so there's something else that can ignite change. Is we don't always need friction to ignite change. Love can ignite change. Yeah, and this balance between the fire and water. Yeah, because fire and water don't naturally go together, but both are powerful. And knowing how is water a powerful transformer in life? How does water manipulate? How does water shift things and not just fire? This becomes a balancing. Yeah? It's about using the right tool for the right thing. And creating opportunity for change through love as opposed to through passion or fire. This is something I want to offer to you as an opportunity to explore. There's no right or wrong way they're showing this. They're just saying there's something here on offer is to pay attention to when am I using friction, passion, desire, and when am I using love, flow, gentleness. And it's almost a masculine and feminine energy that can be balanced out when we've got both. And when we bring love into the story, everything's easier. Everything's easier. So there, I hope that makes sense for you, Dia. They're telling me that you need to sit with it a little bit and see what comes up with you, comes up for you around it. All right, there's somebody here. Thank you, Nasir. Evelyn, are you still around? Evelyn Murphy. I saw your name a few times and I wanted to. Evelyn Murphy Leg. Just let me know if you're still here, otherwise I'll move on to someone else. You know that it's sometimes quite time consuming to sit and listen to all these. Pleasure, Dia. I hope it makes sense, my darling. You're a beautiful soul here to do so much gorgeous work. So I hope that it fits for you. All right, Evelyn, let's see what your guides want to tell you tonight. I see you there. I need to change this card, but I'll show you why now. Fire the critic. Fire the critic. Isn't this an amazing card to look at? Here's this little man, and in the new card, sorry, this is actually version 1, I need to change it. There's this little man standing, and he's got a red balloon, not a black balloon. He's got this beautiful little red balloon, and the lights are doing its thing. And then we've got the shadow coming from him, and it's holding this little pin, and it's about to pop the balloon. Now, if we think about this, balloons are signs of party, fun, relaxed, happiness, all these sorts of things. And then we've got this criticism inside of us, this critical voice that's just trying to burst our bubble and trying to put things out. And so the message that comes forward for you, Evelyn, is that, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job with your life. It's not about perfection in any way, shape, or form. There are certainly things that are working better for you than other things, but you're doing fine. There really is no need to be comparing yourself so much to others, and certainly comparing yourself against a standard that may well be cruel. And I say cool in the most loving way I can. There's a beautiful meme I use in many of my workshops that says, perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. And so your female guide comes forward, and she wants to give you like a pom-pom. The reason she's giving a pom-pom is they often bring forward with this fire, this critic, is that you need to hire the cheerleader. Where's the cheerleader in your life? The one that goes like, good job. Rah, rah, rah. Here we go. You've got this, Evelyn. You can do it. You can do it. I think you're cool. Is really, really creating a space for you to create the cheerleader in you, because that in itself can soften things. They're like lining up as a set of cheerleaders, like doing this whole little thing, and like, you're doing great. You're amazing. You're amazing. Celebrate your successes. Celebrate what you're doing well, because you are amazing. So hire a cheerleader is the message they're giving you. You can even have a male cheerleader if you want. It doesn't have to be female. You can have whichever you want. All right, so that's for you. Right, I am going to be doing one last reading here. Ashley Bronkhorst, the last reading I'm going to be doing. So hopefully you're still here. Right, Ashley, let us see what your guides want to tell you. All right, Ashley. Good, I'm glad, Evelyn. Yay. All right, Ashley. Let joy be your guide. And I love to see all these smiling faces come forward as I say it. Let joy be your guide. If you notice the sacred geometry symbol here, it's what we call the Fibonacci spiral. The Fibonacci spiral is an ever-expanding spiral. It just grows on itself. It's like a natural expansion. So it starts off quite small, and it doubles, and it doubles, and it doubles, and it doubles. And this is a natural spiral that exists in most of nature. It's all over the world in consciousness, wherever you go. And so this is like an ever-expanding expansion, and expansion is an important word. Expansion is a word of what the soul most desires, is wants to illuminate broader, wants to contribute more. And it's not about making progress as much as it is about illuminating or expanding. If we think of okay, I'll use this metaphor they're showing me. I think it's quite funny. But we don't ever try and grow a balloon. Yeah. If I gave you balloons and said, grow the balloons, you can't grow a balloon. There's no strategy for growth for a balloon. But there is a strategy for expansion. And this expansion is breathing into it. And as we breathe into this balloon, it expands and it expands and it expands. Now let's just not hold the sort of idea that it can pop, because that's not what they're referring to. They're just holding this idea of how expansion works. So if we notice how a balloon inflates, that's how expansion works. And so if air is the tool that we use for expansion of the balloon, to inflate the balloon, joy is the inflation for the soul. How do we expand our energy? Through joy. How do we contribute in our lives? Through joy. What is the purpose of our lives? Joy. Every single human being has exactly the same purpose, and that is to live a life of joy. Now, joy is an energy that is quite relaxed, quite peaceful. It's not an excitable energy. It's not to be confused with adrenaline. Joy is, it's natural. It's just, it doesn't have a high and a low. It just keeps expanding. There's no up and down. When we have adrenaline or we have excitement, we have these ups and downs that exist. Very adrenaline kind of related thing. But joy just keeps expanding. And so the question for you is to pay attention to what brings you to feeling alive, feeling fuller, feeling more, and not with the idea of coming off the high, just expanding and expanding and expanding. And for you, very specifically, isn't it beautiful, Nasia? For you, actually, quite specifically, there is an expansion that exists for you when you create. Creativity is directly linked to the expansion of your soul. And so to access your joy, you need to make peace and friends with your creativity. And to not put that at, I don't know why they're saying this, but to not put that on the back burner in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So Nasia said it beautifully. I think she said what I did, but joy is the expansion of the soul. And so that brings us to the end of tonight. Kira, thanks for your live readings. Taryn, we all appreciate it. Have a wonderful night further. Thank you, Kira. I will do so. Time for me to switch off and go and connect back in with my life on earth. And so I will do that. But thank you very much for all being here. You're amazing souls. If you're looking for a set of the cards, there are a certain number available for pre-order. So click on the link and get yours so that you make sure you've got your own personal set of amazing cards to work with. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week, Monday. Namaste.